Good day and welcome to Fairfield County Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. What's happening in Fairfield County? Produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Tough Lawn Service, by Fairfield County Tick Control, also by Ecosystems Irrigation and Lighting, Gutter Brothers Home Services, also by Santa Fuel, New England Motor Oil, MDM Sanitation, Good Morning Wilton, Earthscapes Landscape Management and Development, also by Apollo X Pest Control, Dagny's Real Estate, and the Wilton Chamber of Commerce. Now, here on What's Happening in Fairfield County, we are joined by Shea Green. Shea Green is a senior at Weston High School, a member of the Trojans' different athletic teams there. She's basically one of the biggest stars in the athletics department at Weston. She plays soccer, she plays basketball, and most recently, she has been excelling on the track and field, one of her specialties. A few weeks back, she was named the Outstanding Female Field Athlete at the 54th Annual Glenn D. Loucks Track and Field Games over at White Plains High School in Westchester County. First of all, Shea Green, welcome, and also welcome to Shea's coach, Matt Medve. Matt Medve, you are the girls' coach during the spring season. You handle boys and girls during the winter season indoors, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Shea, how did you get into throwing the javelin? Now, first of all, I want to point out your throw that won the competition at Loucks was the third best ever at the Loucks Games, one of the most prestigious track and field events on the high school level across the country, 142 feet and 2 inches. When I saw that, I looked again real close, and then I did this, and it still came up the same, 142.2. How did you do this?
It starts with him. He got me into throwing the javelin when I was a freshman. And I just stuck with it all throughout high school and throughout COVID. I guess I'm here now.
So you decided to take part in track. Did you know what you wanted to do when you signed up for track and field as a freshman? You talked about how the coach moved you in the direction of the javelin. What were you intending to do when you first signed up?
Well, I know I wasn't intending to run the mile or the 2 mile or the 8, anything more than a 100 really. But I was expecting to probably be a sprinter and a jumper and do some of the throws, but not really, take it as
not devote too much of your time to it, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Coach, what did you see in Shea that made you say, I have a javelin thrower here and probably a pretty good one?
I'm a middle school phys ed teacher, so, I've known Shea since she's been 10 years old. And she played baseball. And in my classes, she's a standout athlete in a variety of ways, whether it's speed or the jumping that she does. But she could just really throw a ball, any object she could throw. It's just, it's the arm speed. It's the overall technique. It's the strength that just stands above everyone else. And that's a gift that she has. So I knew that she was going to throw javelin. How well she was going to throw it, sometimes you just don't know. It's just so proud of her in terms of how she's excelled the last few years.
Now, one thing you talk about here is that you know Shea since she was a bit younger than where she is right now, since she was 10 years old. Many successful high school athletic programs around the tri-state area, coaches will tell me that a lot of the success is because these kids are playing together in softball and soccer, whatever it might be, since they were 7, 8 years old, maybe 7th, 8th grade. And where they are now, it's 10 years later. They don't even have to look at what their teammates about to do. They know. Was this kind of the same situation with you, noticing what Shea had and what you thought she could do?
Well, we don't have a feeder program like you're talking about. Softball, lacrosse, soccer, basketball. They have very extensive feeder programs in almost every town.
And yet you still have that connection going back a long way with her, which is the connection's the key.
Well, I think a lot of the success of the program we have here at Weston is due to the fact that we have a tradition, and the kids at, around 7th, 8th grade are making their mind up about what direction they want to go athletically. And I always say, hey, you could try this or try this in track. And they're like, oh, maybe I will. And I think that kind of happened with Shea because I knew she was a soccer player and a basketball player. Her sister was captain previous to track and field. So that might have influenced her as well. She saw how much fun she was having and the success she's having. And she went on to compete in college as well. So I think there's a lot of factors that get involved in that. So I was just so happy that she decided to come out, and she's an inspiration on the team.
From a coaching standpoint, do you have to tell a prospective 7th, 8th grade athlete, et cetera, even maybe beyond or younger, that the sport you'd like to take up may not be the sport for you, or the position you'd like to play in that sport may not be that position for you, that maybe we have to point you in a different direction? That happened with me. My father was a youth baseball, softball coach. I thought I was a left fielder, a third baseman, maybe a first baseman. He said, no, you're a second baseman, and that's it. Hate to break the news to you, but that's what you are. What is it like how do you guide a student athlete that way into letting them know that this is what's best for you from what I see?
I think collaboratively. I mean, we work together, and I try to really listen to the athletes on, what they prefer to do in terms of events. I mean, sometimes it's just natural talent. Sprinting. Middle distance is a little bit different, where I try to build my middle distance pretty strong. But for the throws, that's very unique, and it takes a special talent, and it takes a lot of skill to throw whatever the implement is really well at a high level. And I was just saying to Shea the other day how she's one of the only athletes that I've ever had in my 27 years where I never have to worry that she's going to win the event. It's just like
never have to worry that she's going to win the event
by like 30 feet. So it's not like the 100. It's like, oh, geez, I hope they get out on a good start, or the 800. It's like, I hope they remain on pace. And every time Shea warms up, her warm-up throws, and we laugh about this, and she's laughing now. I said, every warm-up throw you take is a state open winning throw, because she warms up throwing like 130, 135, nice and easy. So that's just a once in a lifetime thing, I think. I mean, we had another thrower that's at Princeton now who's throwing in the 160s, and she was her teammate and going to be her teammate again, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But to have two young women throw at such an elite level within the same time period, I was just very lucky as a coach.
So, Shea, did you like throwing the javelin right away from the beginning?
Yeah, I did.
Did you have immediate success where you said, hey, you know what? I think I can do this.
Yeah, definitely. I remember the first day when I would go out with Kate, who is throwing at Princeton now, who he was just talking about. And we would have catches with the javelin. Like, it was just fun. And it was always fun from the start. So it's easy to stay with something when you enjoy it. And
have you sprinted at all in your high school years? You talked about maybe doing some sprints at first.
Yeah, well, I've been on the 4x1 as of last year. So I'm on it this year. We're running at States.
And you're a good long jumper, too.
On Thursday.
She jumped 17 feet in the long jump, so she's being very hard. So
generally, you don't have a multi-talented track and field athlete like this. Either you excel on the track side or the field side. Shea, you're able to do both. What's the key for you athletically being able to do this?
Well, I think it's kind of a little bit of a misconception that the throws and the jumps and the sprints are so dissimilar, because realistically, the javelin is a speed event, and the long jump is a speed event, and the 4x1 or the 100 is.
And you have to use legs and core in all of these too, right?
Yeah, they're all based on power and force production. So they're all a lot more similar than people realize. So it's actually, I would consider it really normal that a javelin thrower could be a jumper, could be a sprinter.
All we have to do is look at you and know it can be done, right?
Exactly.
How do you feel knowing that you're in that position, being a role model now for somebody who says, well, I can only do one or the other, and all we have to do is look and say, well, Shea did it. What might stop you from being able to do it too? What words of advice would you give to someone who thinks this way, that I can't do both, I can only do one?
I think you can always do more than what you think you can do, whether that's like in a workout or at a meet doing multiple events at the same time, so many people are so quick to give up on things that I would say you can always do more than you think you can.
What's your daily regimen like now?
In terms of training?
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'll do something before school, whether like run or bike. And then we'll come to practice. We'll do handoffs for the 4x1. Depends on if it's a speed day or a threshold day or a regular run day. But I'll do one of those three, and then we'll get some jumps in. I'll get some throws in, and then lifting 2 to 3 times a week.
How about diet?
Oh, diet. I mean, I try to keep my diet really clean. So I limit meat or red meat, and then a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, I don't really eat a lot of processed food, but.
So coach doesn't have to worry about you maybe sneaking a Burger King or a McDonald's in,
No,
right?
definitely
Okay.
not.
All right. It's good you've learned that at your age, because for many people, they go through a whole lifetime and don't learn that we can't put these kinds of processed foods in our bodies. If we do, that has to be very limited and very regimented. Shea Green is a senior at Weston High School, recently, a few weeks back, named the Outstanding Female Field Athlete at the 54th Annual Glenn D. Loucks Track and Field Games over at White Plains High School in Westchester County. Shea, you're a track captain, correct?
Correct.
You are have been a soccer and a basketball captain too. Those careers are done now at Weston High School. A 3-sport star, not just a track and field star, not just a star running and throwing the javelin and doing everything else you've done with the track and field program at Weston High. What skills did you learn in soccer and basketball that maybe you've translated over onto the track and field side and vice versa too?
I would say physically in soccer and basketball, there's a lot of, what's it called? The spring, like tension, a lot of tension movements, quick tension.
Ballistic movements.
Fast twitch movements.
Fast twitch, yeah. The fast twitch movements. And then explosive power, whether that's like lateral or linear. But I think more so, I learned a lot, especially in basketball, more about my mind and like how to motivate myself and motivate my teammates in track. So I think I've taken more from that aspect and just learning how to be the best athlete that I can.
You talk about being a leader, captain for all 3 sports. If I were your teammate and I were having a bad day out there on the track, or I couldn't kick a ball straight on the soccer field, or I was shooting 3 for 15, we're down the stretch of a basketball game, how would you get my mind? You talk about getting your mind right. How would you work with me to get my mind right so that we could pull this out?
It depends on what kind of, our teams are all so close and we all have such tight-knit relationships that I would have to see what kind of, what athlete was struggling with, what at that time, and figure out what they like. So a lot of girls love like positive encouragement, and just they need their head picked up and they need somebody to tell them a joke or make them laugh or make them smile. And then other girls need a little bit of a push and a little bit of tough love. But we all know each other so well that they know that no matter what happens, like we all, not just myself, but the other captains on the track team and on the soccer team and the basketball team, we all care for each other so much that
we hear about teams who win because everybody cares about each other. We're hearing this about the Rangers now and the run they're making in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They've gotten into the conference finals against the Tampa Bay. And we hear about, I noticed that after they defeated Carolina in Game 7, Adam Fox and Chris Kreider both said in their post-game interviews, we just love playing together and we want to keep this going. Is this what a lot of this is about, how teams and groups of players get to be successful, the unity, the camaraderie, or is this played up too much?
Oh, no, I would absolutely say that a lot of our success can be attributed, especially as a team, to our tight-knit community. Just because when I look back, I've always been on a team since I was a freshman on a really competitive, really successful team. And there's something I think that's overlooked with that kind of success over a long span of time, because you learn when you're a freshman from the seniors, from the juniors, the standard, and they push you to get better. And they raise the standard for you so that when you get older, so now when I'm a senior, I'm pushing the sophomores and the freshmen and the juniors below me. And then there's also the idea that we care about each other so much that we're not afraid to push each other to our limits in practice, where some people might say, I don't really know you that much. We can take this one off, or we can do this, where we all care for each other so much. We want all the girls on the team to PR and be the best athletes they can be.
Coach Medve, from a coaching standpoint, do you rely on those who play for you, those that you coach, to help police the locker room, help police the room, as they say nowadays?
Yeah, I wouldn't, I guess, but I guess police would be a strong word. These young women, they take everything very, very seriously, because they have such a strong tradition of track and field here, and I think they just don't want to let each other down, and they see how they work towards a specific goal, which is the team championship. So there's a lot of parts moving, doing different things, whether it's sprinting, middle distance, throws, this and that. And each one of them has their own respect for one another in terms of what they're bringing to the table to try to help the team be successful. So they monitor each other. They push each other. And like Shea was saying, we just won our 14th league championship in 16 years. And Shea was a huge part of it, of course, and the way she leads the team, and the other captains lead the team. But, we had some kids that didn't have good days, and it happens. And the others just have to pick them up, stay positive, and move on from there and do the best you can, because track, there's always another event. You can make it up in a different event.
14th championship in 16 years. What's been the key to that? That's hard to do. Got to congratulate you on that. That's really hard to do.
It's you just kind of take it one moment at a time, and each year's a different type of strategy in terms of the team. You have your staples in terms of Shea's a huge scorer in terms of what she does. The long jump, which was 17.3 this year, was pretty good.
17.3
3/4, by the way. So you have someone like Shea, who you just she's an anchor there. But, you focus on things where, we have a 2-miler this year for the first time ever. She was a sprinter last year. She won the 2 miles. She ran 11:11.
Shout out Abby
Miles. So you kind of work with how the team progresses through the 4 years, and you fit them into the pieces. It's a chess match, as any track coach would say. And you put those pieces where you think they would do best for the team. And that's how it's been done for the last almost 2 decades.
And the best coaches do that, as we know. They don't say my way or the highway. This is my system. They develop a system every year based on who is playing for them, who's on the team that year. Shea Green, now you will be heading off to graduation soon, and you're heading off to Princeton University in New Jersey. What will you major in at Princeton? First, you are going on scholarship, correct?
Well, actually, when you go to any of the Ivy League institutions, they don't give you money for athletics. So, no. But
I forgot about that. As I said that, it dawned on me, it's Ivy League. You're not going to go on scholarship. Yeah. But you are going to, what will you major in at Princeton?
At the moment, I'm not sure. I definitely have a pulling interest towards economics or political theory. So either one of those two things, but I'm really open to whatever piques my interest.
And athletically, you will take part, from what I hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How?
I'll throw the javelin there, and who knows, maybe I can.
I don't know.
Maybe some soccer, maybe some basketball down the road?
Perhaps.
Mm-hmm. When you talk to the track and field coach there, have you been out there on the track and gotten a look, maybe thrown a javelin or two around, or run around, sprinted around the track maybe?
Unfortunately not, but they just got it redone, so I've been down a couple of times to watch them meet. So but I'm excited to in the fall.
What words of advice would you give to anyone coming up, not just in the Weston system, but locally in this tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut? We're all pretty much all the athletes and the way we live our lives, all pretty much the same. For somebody coming up who says, I don't know if I can do this, what would you say? Because you're the perfect example of that, getting out there and thinking you're going to do one thing on the track, and then you moved over to being a field athlete also too. How would you guide someone coming up through the system, through any system in this area here, as to what they should do, how they should approach their fears and their potential doubts?
I think everybody says that to themselves, I don't know if I can do it. And I think the easiest response I could think of is probably learn how to do it. You have so many resources like coaches and online, and people are getting smarter. And I think that if you are feeling unconfident or feeling nervous about the future, then you have so many resources that you can use and so many avenues that you can take to just expand your own knowledge about something that would sort of ease your concerns.
142.2. Can you do better than that? 142.2. Can you do better?
Yeah, definitely.
You expect to do better.
Absolutely.
Tell them what she's thrown.
Yeah, my PR as of last summer was 161 feet, and my season's best so far is 154 feet. So
what's left in your season, the rest of this season? What's left still to go?
We have the state meet on Thursday, the state open meet on Monday, New England championship later in the month, and nationals, and possibly some meets over the summer like USA's and the Nutmeg Games in Connecticut.
So you have a full slate of events still lined up in the next couple of months. I guess 142.2 might be out the window soon. You look back on that and said, yeah, I used to throw that, but now I throw 156.6. So, right? Mm-hmm. Or something along those lines. All right. Shea Green, the Princeton Tigers have much to look forward to, having you on board with them as of next school year. Congratulations to you. Congrats on your being selected the outstanding female field athlete at the Glenn D. Loucks track and field games at White Plains High just a few weeks back over in Westchester County. All the best to you and Coach Matt Medve. We thank you for joining us here on Fairfield County Talk Radio. Continued success. Congrats on 14 championships in 16 seasons. All the best.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both here on Fairfield County Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. What's happening in Fairfield County? We are produced by Sharc Creative, and we are made possible by Tough Lawn Service, Fairfield County Tick Control, also by Echo Systems, Irrigation and Lighting, Gutter Brothers, Home Services, Santa Fuel, New England Motor Oil, MDM Sanitation, Good Morning Wilton, Earthscapes, Landscape Management and Development, also by Apollo X Pest Control, Dagny's Real Estate, and the Wilton Chamber of Commerce. Catch all of our Fairfield, Westchester, Rockland Orange, Putnam, and Dutchess County Talk Radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube